Welcome to Thinkin' for Myself. Today, we're exploring the profound impacts of immigration and the rise of Islamist influence across various countries. We'll look at how these factors have reshaped the social and political landscapes of nations like Lebanon, the United Kingdom, and beyond. We'll also discuss what steps we can take to prevent America from heading down a similar path. Lebanon, a nation transformed by demographic shifts. Lebanon, once a diverse nation with a balanced mix of Christian, Sunni, and Shia Muslim populations, has seen its demographic and political landscape dramatically altered over the years. The arrival of large numbers of Palestinian refugees after the 1948 Arab-Israeli War significantly shifted Lebanon's sectarian balance. This influx, followed by later waves of Syrian refugees fleeing the civil war, further strained the country's delicate social fabric, contributing to the Lebanese Civil War from 1975 to 1990. Demographic changes and rapid population growth. As the Muslim population, particularly the Shia community, grew rapidly due to high birth rates and practices like polygamy, where men could have up to 4 wives, the demographic balance in Lebanon began to tilt. The Shia community's population expanded quickly, outnumbering other groups and increasing its influence. This rapid population growth, coupled with external support from Iran, set the stage for significant political shifts. Hezbollah, a Shia Islamist group, rose to power, leveraging the growing Shia population to assert control over Lebanon's political and military landscape. Hezbollah's influence in Lebanon. Hezbollah's rise was not just a political shift. It marked the beginning of a new era in Lebanon, where the once balanced power structure was overtaken by a group with a radical agenda. Over time, Hezbollah turned on the very nation that had once embraced its community, leading to internal conflicts and eventually widespread violence. Today, Hezbollah's influence has made Lebanon a battleground for regional conflicts and a focal point of tension in the Middle East. The group's dominance has led to increased sectarian divisions and has been a significant factor in Lebanon's ongoing political and economic crises. The United Kingdom: challenges of multiculturalism and radicalization. The United Kingdom has a long history of immigration, especially from former colonies in South Asia, the Middle East, and Africa. The UK has embraced multiculturalism, aiming to integrate these diverse communities while allowing them to maintain their cultural identities. However, the UK has faced significant challenges with radicalization, particularly among second-generation immigrants. Cities like London, Birmingham, and Manchester have seen the rise of radical Islamist networks responsible for several terrorist attacks, including the 7/7 bombings in 2005 and the Manchester Arena bombing in 2017. Sharia courts and parallel societies in the UK. In some parts of the UK, there have been reports of parallel societies where certain communities, particularly those with high concentrations of Muslim immigrants, operate according to their own rules and customs, sometimes including Sharia law courts. These developments have sparked intense debate about the integration of immigrant communities and the preservation of British values and laws. Political and social tensions in the UK. The rise of Islamist extremism in the UK has led to increased scrutiny of immigration policies and multiculturalism. It has also fueled the growth of far-right groups who oppose immigration and advocate for stricter controls on Muslim communities. The UK government has responded with various counter-terrorism measures and de-radicalization programs, but the issue remains a significant challenge. France. The challenges of post-colonial immigration. France, like the UK, has a long history of immigration, particularly from North Africa, including Algeria, Tunisia, and Morocco. The country has faced growing concerns over Islamist radicalization, which became especially evident during the 1990s and 2000s. France has experienced several high-profile terrorist attacks, such as the Charlie Hebdo attack in 2015 and the Paris attacks later that year. These events have led to a national conversation about secularism, integration, and the role of Islam in French society. Germany, integration challenges, and the refugee crisis. Germany opened its borders to over 1 million refugees during the European migrant crisis in 2015. While this decision was seen as a humanitarian effort, it has also presented significant challenges in terms of integration and security. Germany has faced several terrorist attacks in recent years, and the presence of Islamist networks remains a concern. The country continues to work on balancing its commitment to humanitarian principles with the need for security and social cohesion. Sweden, the impact of the migrant crisis. Sweden accepted a large number of refugees during the 2015 migrant crisis, many from Muslim-majority countries like Syria, Iraq, and Afghanistan. This influx has led to increased social tensions and incidents of violence, some attributed to radicalized elements within its immigrant communities. Sweden continues to navigate the challenges of integrating its diverse population while maintaining social order and addressing concerns about radicalization. Belgium, a hub for radicalization. Belgium, particularly the Brussels neighborhood of Molenbeek, has been identified as a hub for radicalization. The 2016 Brussels bombings, carried out by a group with links to Islamist networks in Molenbeek, highlighted the significant challenges Belgium faces. Belgium continues to grapple with issues related to radicalization and Islamist extremism, implementing various counter-terrorism measures while trying to integrate its immigrant populations. Some other global examples. Beyond Europe, many other countries have faced challenges related to Islamic extremism. In the Middle East, Syria and Iraq have been devastated by the rise of ISIS. Afghanistan has seen the Taliban, an Islamist militant group, regain control after the U.S. withdrawal in 2021. In Africa, countries like Nigeria, Somalia, and Mali continue to battle Islamist groups such as Boko Haram and Al-Shabaab. In Asia, countries like Indonesia and the Philippines have faced terrorist attacks by Islamist extremist groups, while Pakistan and Bangladesh continue to struggle with various forms of Islamist militancy. The Hamas-Israel conflict underscores the broader challenge of combating extremist ideologies and maintaining peace in a world where such threats are ever present. It's a stark reminder of the importance of strong alliances and the need for vigilance in confronting these dangers. The American context, protecting our nation. And now, let's bring this discussion back home to America. As we learn from the experiences of countries like Lebanon, it's clear that saving our nation from a similar fate requires us to focus on what truly matters. Preventing another attack like 9/11 and ensuring our national security remains our top priority. But here in the U.S., we're spending far too much time on issues that divide us, issues that shouldn't be as contentious as they've become. Most Americans don't care if you're gay, trans, or identify as whatever you will. That's your choice. This country is built on the principles of freedom and individuality. But when it comes to the children, some lines should never be crossed. The dangers of early gender alterations. Consider this. How old do you have to be to get a tattoo? In most states, you have to be at least 18. But we're allowing children, some as young as 12 or 13, to undergo life-altering gender transitions, sometimes without full parental consent. Does that make sense? These are irreversible decisions that should not be made by children who are still developing mentally and emotionally. The saddest part is that these decisions are often made out of confusion, and the long-term consequences are rarely discussed. We need to ask ourselves, are we really helping these children, or are we setting them up for a future of regret and suffering? The importance of border security and vetting. It's crucial to acknowledge that not all Muslims are part of the radical Islamic extremist groups we've discussed today. In fact, the vast majority of Muslims around the world reject terrorism and seek peace. But that's precisely why strong vetting at our borders is so critical to our safety as Americans. Our border security and immigration processes are the first lines of defense in ensuring that those who wish to harm us do not gain entry into our country. We must be vigilant and thorough in our vetting to distinguish between those who share our values and those who seek to impose a radical agenda. The urgency of action. Now is our time to act before we too have terrorists walking our streets, beating, raping, and killing our citizens. This threat knows no political boundaries. Whether you're Democrat, Republican, or Independent, it won't matter. The reality is stark. We will either accept the radical Islamic agenda, or we will face the dire consequences. In places where extremist groups have taken control, the choices are clear: convert to their beliefs or face severe punishment, even death. We must not allow this ideology to take root in America. The safety of our nation and the future of our children depend on the actions we take today. The conclusion. Lessons from Lebanon. A warning for the world. Lebanon's tragic transformation offers a stark warning to the world about the dangers of unchecked demographic shifts, the growth of extremist ideologies, and the failure to address the root causes of sectarian tension. What began as a haven for diverse communities became a battleground, where demographic imbalances, fueled by high birth rates and cultural practices like polygamy, allowed radical groups to gain power and eventually dominate the nation's political and military landscape. This is why we cannot afford to simply open our borders to anyone without careful consideration. Yes, we welcome those who seek a better life, but it must be done safely and responsibly. Think about it. When you go on vacation, do you leave your front door unlocked? If you advocate for open borders, then I suppose you wouldn't mind leaving your home unprotected. But most of us understand that our homes need to be secure, and so too should the borders of our country. Shouldn't our national borders have someone at the door to greet newcomers, to ensure they're not a danger to Americans? The fact that we even have to ask this question is a sign of how far we've drifted from common sense. It's sad and alarming that this basic principle of security is being questioned. Lebanon's story is not just a cautionary tale, it's a call to action. If the world fails to learn from Lebanon's experience, other nations may find themselves on a similar path, where demographic changes lead to conflict, and the peace and stability that people once took for granted become distant memories. Let this be a wake-up call. The future of nations depends on their ability to manage demographic changes wisely, to resist the forces of division, and to ensure that the mistakes of the past are not repeated. The stakes are too high to ignore. Like, share, and subscribe to stay informed and engaged. Your voice matters. Make it count. Get out and vote to protect our future. Vote Donald J. Trump as our 47th president. And let's restore the strength, unity, and brilliance of our beautiful, colorful, funny, hardworking, and diverse United States of America. a place where those who have traveled great distances and endured the process of entering legally are valued and appreciated for their commitment to our nation.